here for us and for all the coaches here. Let's just say the middle cylinder. So the middle cylinder, coaches, goes like basically from the corner all the way through the dots, and it does the same over here. A little crooked, sorry. And then right through the dots here. So this whole area here is, to me, the middle cylinder. So Steve, in your question from Madison, Wisconsin, I would say that, early in the season, if I was setting up my drills, I would want to try and break out in that shaded area, if you would. I think that's critical, that we can break out in that area. And here's the reason why, coaches. Depending on the level you're at, the more you utilize the middle cylinder that I just basically have diagrammed for you, and again, follow me if you would as I shade it in. The more we utilize this whole area here, the tougher, depending on the age we're coaching, but certainly the tougher we are to prepare to play against as the year goes on. I think in the game of hockey in our development, we obviously can rim pucks out in breakout. We can go D to D to wing on the wall. We can have our D circle the net and hit the wing on the wall. Those are all things that most kids are going to be able to do from the ages of squirt all the way on up through. As you develop a team at an age where you're coaching at an older level, you want to have the ability to utilize the middle cylinder. And the reason why is at the end of the year, when you play a team, the game is always about punch and counterpunch. And as you go through the process with your team, if you worked all year on middle breakouts or middle cylinder breakouts, you're a much tougher team to play against in the playoffs, because inevitably the game is going to tell you at times you have to break out up the walls. No question about it. But at the same time, those teams that can utilize the middle cylinder and have the confidence to go out through the middle make it very difficult for a team to prepare to play you against in the playoffs. Here's the downside about playing out through the middle. At some point early in the season, I'll draw an example here for you, is we've got a defenseman here, we've got a centerman here, we've got a defensive partner here, and we've got a wing here, and we've got maybe another wing there. So in this case here, now when you look at this and you say, okay, let's move the puck. So we move it, boom, across here, so it goes to here. This D grabs it and starts to fade somewhere into this corner here. We obviously can, at some point in time, we can just bump that and go straight to there. But as we grow early in the season, if we move the puck into this area here, excuse me, I lost my little arrow here. But as we move the puck now into the middle cylinder here, it becomes a much different game. So kind of losing that little dot for you. But as this guy comes through here and we utilize this middle cylinder through a breakout pass, that's going to allow us now to get out of the zone and be able to get the puck in the middle, which totally changes the defensive team. Here's the downside. If I go back and I draw a big, thick line in this area here, you've got to be ready in the early part of the season to defend this whole area. And your goaltender is going to know that this is not going to be a perfect science early in the year. And there's chances you might give up chances against or even goals against in games. That said, if we have the patience as coaches and our team understands the upside of it, but they understand the reality of sometimes the downside of playing up through the middle cylinder, if we can go through that together as a team and as coaches and players, we'll be better in the end of the year. So, Steve, I believe, sitting back in Madison, Wisconsin, it's really critical that you can exit both through the walls and through the middle as you move your team forward. So hopefully that helps you, like in terms of what I think is important for your development scheme of all your players trying to get out of the zone down here in these situations. So it's really critical that we can get to that point early in the season through this middle cylinder for us to be a good hockey team. Does that make sense? It should to everybody, but I think it does make a lot of sense, but there's some risk involved. Now let's move to the neutral zone. So if I get rid of all these marks and we move to the neutral zone, Steve, per your question, and we look at the neutral zone for me is the same. The neutral zone, again, if I draw the lines, and utilize the neutral zone as the middle cylinder. This is the middle cylinder here. And what's really great about playing now in your regrouping, so now if we go back, Steve, per your question, okay, and we use the D here, and we use the D here, okay, and we use, a back lateral pass, okay, we use a back lateral pass, so we use a pass that goes like this to there, and then we then use a play where it's going to go somewhere into the middle here. The advantage of this for Steve in your question is if we get the puck through this part of the rink on our attack early in the season, what it does to the opponent, which I think is really, really critical, is it's going to force the opponent to put a D here and put a D here, because you're coming up through the middle. And now what it does open up is obviously it's going to open up all of this space out here for your entries, and we'll utilize this space here to kick it out to our wings because we're entering through the middle. So now on this side of the game, when we go through the middle, that allows us our outside access, and it's tougher for the D to stand up and hold the middle of the ice. The first part, we just talked about breakouts. This one is your neutral zone breakouts, or what I call regrouping or bonds, breakout neutral zone. But by carrying it through the middle here, this is really, really critical for our success. And the biggest thing in this middle part here is when we carry it into here, we hold that these X's here, they've got to stay in the middle. So if I move them, if we move another guy, now we move them there, and they shut down, you can see the outside lanes all out in these areas here, Steve. You can see these areas now have become completely wide open for entry points. And now it's the skill level of our centerman right here to just move pucks. So if he can move pucks there, he can move pucks there. That makes us really, really valuable as we go to the offensive side. So we go to there, we go to there, and we go to there, and that's what we look like. And if I now erase, or I go to the eraser and I take that one out and I take that one out, now we have the puck in the middle here, and we can facilitate this puck either way and have access to the zone at a high rate of speed. So there's advantages, certainly, Steve, to being able to utilize the middle of the rink. But I think as the year goes on, you become a better team, a more dynamic offensive team with middle cylinder play. And it allows you to get easier entrance. The other side of this, Steve, though, to answer your question is, what if we just kick it out and we use the wings all the time? If the puck does stay on the rails, and if I can just erase all of this, so I'll erase that. Let's just say that I go back to a line here and I draw a thick line. If we play and we exit the zone and we're on this part of the wall on either side, okay, and we do the same over here, and we have some type of wall play where we've moved the puck up the wall. Anytime we turn over the puck on the walls, it really nullifies to a certain extent our opponent's ability to transition or counter. It's much more difficult to pull pucks off of the rail, I say, and counter back. So middle play has got a huge upside. The downside is turnovers. It's easier to transition out of the middle on somebody and go back the other way. The counter punch is a little quicker, sometimes more effective. Anytime we turn over pucks in these areas of the rink, obviously, and I got rid of all this stuff here, if we turn over pucks there on the outside, it's certainly way different than it is if we turn over pucks in the middle. So, Steve, hopefully I've answered your question, but I would try and exit that way all the time. The last part of your question, though, really, quite frankly, is an important one, is where do we, now if we move it D to D, where does he find this space? Where does he find this space? So that's the next part of that. So if we put a winger here and we activate this D on a D to D pass, now where is he going to be activated to in terms of where's his path and where's his route, And I can't really tell you that. That's a little bit philosophical. Depending on the age you're coaching, if you can have the ability to make a cross-ice pass and you want to activate him up the weak side, that's one way. If you find that you've blown your forwards all up into the blue line area here and you want to activate this guy in a back lateral pass, you can do that. But obviously the weak side D that originally touched the puck is going to have to activate. Sometimes this activation lane is based on what, Steve, you do with your forwards in this case. So do they get to the blue line and stop? Do they move laterally? That's a part of your tactical approach to the game. But they're going to fill, or this defenseman right here is going to fill some spot that's open, whether it's on the far side, whether it's going up through the middle on an entry play here because you want him to be a pass option there. You might want him to be a pass option there, or you might want to move all of this all the way over into here on entry. That is going to be your call tactically as a coach, but the activation of the D is always to find the soft spot that can be lateral, it can be back lateral, but that player, meaning that defenseman, has to have really good hockey IQ to understand that. And most importantly, the timing of when he hits those holes for that pass to be available is critical. And I think you probably understand that at this point in time. So I think the activation right now, whether it's the strong side D or the weak side D, is your call, but he's got to find a pocket. But let me emphasize, he has to hit it at the right time with the right speed in order to make your forwards a huge advantage for you entering the zone, and where you're going to get some type of attack options off of a D entry, or if he's a shooter late in the zone, then you get your forwards at the net. So hopefully that helps, Steve. We appreciate the question. Thanks again, coaches, for being a part of episode number 2 here from the pond at Deer Lake in Wisconsin. Really appreciate the questions. Appreciate